Hey guys, welcome back. It's Fountain Cast. Opening day is almost here. We're
So
like
close.
we're like 2 days away, I think, right now.
Yep.
Um, I'm Preston Farr, Matt Chabot with me here. How you doing, Matt? I know you're on the road, the West Coast swing right now. How's
I'm
it going?
doing good. We're traveling. I people don't know I play in the Maryland Pep Band right now. I'm a senior, so getting a good last ride. I got to watch that Dairy Queen buzzer beater, which was a lot of fun. And teams that team's exciting. They are really cool. So if you don't follow college basketball a lot, Maryland Terrapins are really fun to watch right now. So we got Florida on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. I'll get to watch opening day, and then right after that we get started. So.
Yeah, big day on Thursday. Good luck to you guys. You were in Seattle, now you're in San Francisco, right?
Yep. Yeah, we just got here yesterday. So,
Nice. Well, thanks for being on with us in the hotel room there.
oh yeah.
Um, like we said, opening day's coming up. We got some news to go through with the Royals. A trade happened, and it looks like we finally have an opening day roster. So we'll go through all that, and then we also have an exciting interview that we have for you guys with 2024 draftee AJ Causey that we'll go through with you guys. So, and then after that, we'll just run through maybe a quick minor league preview, just kind of where you might see the top prospects this year, what affiliate they might be at, and then a little bit on the spring breakout since it's been a while since we've been on here. So with that, let's do some quick news and notes. Like I said, we had a trade. Matt Royals acquired Mark Canna for either a player to be named later or some cash, basically for nothing. Um,
Yeah. Bag of Doritos.
yeah, right. He was with the Brewers on a minor league contract. Came over to the Royals. Had a great last couple games of spring. I think he had 2 hits with the Brewers, and he finished spring training with like 5 or 6 hits with the Royals in 2 games.
Yeah, I think the Royals want a different role from him than what the Brewers wanted from him. Like the Royals need a guy to get on base, and I think the Brewers are looking for a guy to smack the ball. So
Yeah,
uh,
right. Well,
works
Canna
out for both.
was he's an on base guy, but he had some pretty hard hits the other day. But he's
Yeah,
not gonna be a slugger, obviously. But he looks good.
yeah, he had some fun at bats to watch. I kept an eye on that the first game that he played with them, and his first at bat, I think he smacked one like a little over 110. So he's got some juice in there, but he took good at bats almost every time. It was good at bats, so that was a good sign to see from him.
Yeah, I was listening to Jacob Milham on Royals Rundown. Basically, the way they compared, I like the way they compared it. They basically said, you had Starling Marte, mashes lefties, older guy, but he's going to cost a ton. Mark
Mhm.
Canna is basically all of those things, doesn't cost you much at all.
Right.
So he'll mash lefties. I think Marte's at one point was more of a power profile, whereas Canna was more of an on base guy. But I think he'll give the Rose exactly what they need in that outfield.
Yeah, Marte when he was 30 was so much of a better option, but
Yeah. Right.
you know,
Yeah. So I mean, he'll obviously platoon some with Melendez, Renfro. I think, I mean, basically the Royals outfield is what we had last year, but there's more like break glass if these guys are still bad options, if that makes sense. I think that's kind of the way I look at it.
yeah, it gives you options to kind of cycle in and out. It won't feel like last year where Melendez goes, 0 for 25, and you still have to stick with him in the lineup, or the same with Garcia last year as well.
Yeah.
Uh, and it gives you space to make a trade at the deadline if you want to. You still got the opportunity to do that. So that, but I think adding Mark Hanna again, bag of Doritos, didn't give up much of anything. You'll take that for what he's going to provide. It's kind of what they were looking for most of this offseason. Um, I think he's kind of similar to like what you could expect from Hunter Renfroe, except with a little more on base and a little less power. But um, those two guys, like you get a solid right-hander, why not? He's had some good seasons in the past, and uh, again, if Melendez struggles, you get yourself some insurance.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Renfro had a good spring. Um,
Yeah.
as we round out the roster, we'll get to the hitters, but more or less the opening day roster is into focus at this point. Um, Chris Stratton, Daniel Lynch, they're on the opening day roster. That pushes Carlos Hernandez out, and we'll get to more to him in here in a minute. James MacArthur, Kyle Wright, Alec Marsh. Not really a surprise. Those three guys are set to start the year on the injured list. I think really the only surprise is it's just a 15-day IL for MacArthur. But I did see that they don't need to put him on the 60 days, so they're not going to yet. But it wouldn't surprise me if somebody hits waivers that they want to take a chance on, if they move him to that 60-day. Just depends how it plays out, I think.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I mean, the pitchers are what we expected. It was really just those bubble guys with Stratton and Hernandez, I think. They went with Stratton, the veteran. As far as hitters go, that's the news that we got today. Again, most of the roster was kind of settled. It was just the bench, the depth guys. So Nick Lofton, Joey Weimer, Dyron Blanco, Craig Biggio, that was kind of the four. And we get Blanco and Biggio. I know we talked a little bit about it earlier in the Farm to Fountain Slack, but the Royals like the speed. They like the pinch runner that Blanco can be. I mean, you brought it up. It creates runs late in games when you've got guys like Hunter Renfroe that he can come in for that are just clogging up the bases. So there's some value with Blanco for sure.
The Royals aren't a team that's going to hit the ball over the fence to win games. They're not going to lead the league in homers. They're not even going to come close. And so it helps to have a guy, that you just got to get into third and 1 out or 2 outs. Blanco's going to steal second. If he's on first base, you tell the guy at bat, just take some pitches. You're going to get him to second. You got to get him to third. And once you get him to third, he's going to get home. So I think that the team views pinch running a little more valuably than pinch hitting. I think if this is, you're playing in Yankee Stadium, they might be more inclined to go with Velasquez, Weimer, somebody like that, who you can go and get a ton of power out of every now and again. And you'd rather sub the hitter in than the runner. But I think Blanco was near the top of the league in stolen bases, and his stolen base percentage was absurd. So, when his job is just pinch running, he's damn good at his job. That's about all that he's really good at. But and I probably would have preferred to see Weimer make the roster just because of what he could be. But I also think it doesn't hurt to build his confidence a little bit after he struggled in the past. Let him hit in AAA a little bit and continue to get into a rhythm. And he can come up if somebody struggles. But the Royals are going to value that. Like you're stuck in the middle of the order. The 8th, 9th guy gets a hit and is slow, or like somebody's DHing, you pull the DH, get Blanco in there to go run the bases. I remember last year there was a game against the Orioles where the Royals ended up losing it, but Blanco sent it to extra innings. He stole second, then he stole third and scored. And that game is not won without Dyron Blanco. So there is value in what he brings to the team. I think it makes sense why they kept him. I don't think he would get kept on many other rosters, though, just because I think the Royals are accounting for that Kauffman Field advantage of you got a big old field, and so you're not going to hit a ton of home runs, so you got to get around the bases. You can't just put it over the fence.
Right. Yeah, Blanco means a whole hell of a lot more to the Royals than, say, the Yankees, right?
Right.
I'm with you. Me personally, like, Blanco's fine. He hit lefties great last year. I just don't think he's going to do it again, personally. He was playing center field in Omaha, terrible in center field in the big leagues. So you're basically putting all of your center field eggs in the Kyle Isbell, Michael Garcia basket, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. I think if that doesn't work out with Garcia, then you start to maybe consider Weimer a bit more.
Yeah, you have to have a right-handed option in center field at some point. If Garcia's not going to cut it out there, Blanco's not going to cut it out there. He barely cut it in right field last year. So,
which is absurd because he's so quick, but it's the jumps and
he can't track the ball.
Yeah, and the tracking. Yeah. But I mean, we'll see what happens with Weimer. Personally, I would have preferred Lofton or Weimer to Blanco, but that's just my preference. I think if Weimer goes to Omaha, like you said, give him some confidence in the hitter-friendly International League where he can just rake, hopefully. He had a weird year last year where, he was with Milwaukee and then he went to Cincinnati. So it's just kind of like a year all over the place for him. I think it'll be nice for him to settle in a little bit. And I'd rather him do that every day than sit on the bench,
Yeah, and then another big part of this is that those two guys had options and Blanco doesn't. Right? Blanco gets cut and someone's going to grab him. I mean, some team will want a pinch runner. There'll be some value in that for another team. Weimer and Lofton, you can keep on your roster. You can call them up whenever you want. Injuries are going to happen. They happen every year. 15-day IL, 60-day IL, 10-day, whatever. Injuries happen. So those guys are going to find major league time. might not be on opening day. But I mean, we already have and I'm sure we'll talk about what the Vinny hamstring is already something coming up. So, with Lofton's ability to play first, that might become something. But we already saw Canna play first a little bit too. So, but those guys they'll have a major league impact. They didn't make the opening day roster, but I don't think that's for lack of skill. I think, yeah, again, the Royals value pinch running, and Blanco it's cut him or keep him. So,
yeah,
the other guys could say
it's as much a roster puzzle as a skill puzzle. You have to play the options. Guys that didn't have options: Nick Prado, Nelson Velasquez, and we talked about Carlos Hernandez. All three guys have options. All three guys DFA, taken off the 40-man. Carlos Hernandez was claimed by the Phillies, so he's no longer in the organization. Good luck to him. His velo's down this spring. He just never could put it all together. There was a point where he was like the opening day starter for me. Like, this dude should start opening day. And then obviously he became a reliever. Just couldn't put it together. But I think, he's got the tools. It just won't happen here.
I think for years, I'm going to use Carlos Hernandez as the example of why you shouldn't rush people through the minor league system.
Yeah, he played like high A and nothing at Double A, right?
Right. Like they shot him through the minor leagues because he threw 100. And it's cool when you throw 100. Anybody that throws 100 will probably get major league time at some point in their career. The Royals were bad, and so they shot a guy like that up. And they should have traded him when they could. I think it's Alex Duvall who always says, trade your relievers, trade your relievers. There were rumors that they got a top 100 prospect offered for him at some point. So that would have been nice. But I don't think the off-speed stuff ever panned out, and the fastball was either dead middle or into the dirt. So
yeah, so many things we can learn with him, whether it's trading, your relievers, or, I mean, they rushed Singer around the same time frame back in 2020, right. And like, imagine if they had like, it just sucks. Like, imagine if they had the pitching development they have now when Hernandez was in high A. It's like a completely different story.
Yeah, you give Brady Singer one solid changeup or a cutter or something in there, and you probably are still the rotation's completely different. And that is exactly, a lot of people asking for Caglione to be up right now. I mean, it's different because he's a hitter, but this is why you don't call him up right now, is because he's super cool, super fun to watch. He's going to own in the minor leagues. He was even hitting off major league pitchers, but slow it down. You got to let the guy
no rush.
Get through what he's going to do. There's no point in just shoving him up to the major leagues when he's not ready and then screwing him. It hurts their development.
Yeah. You don't need to be the Angels. I think there's something to be said. At one point, the Royals were, I talked about it like 2 or 3 years ago. They were just too conservative with guys. They would leave, like Nick Prado and MJ Melendez. They let them like die in Wilmington. Like, get this guy out of here. It was like the shittiest hitters park you could find. So I mean, yeah, you don't need to be the Angels, but you don't need to be that. I think the middle ground, which is, I think, about where the Royals are.
Yeah, I felt like they had the opposite problem with hitters than they had with pitchers. The pitchers were like, go, and the hitters, they were like, he's only hitting 900. It's like,
yeah, right.
Yeah. And Philly is now becoming the graveyard of Royals pitchers who don't make it anymore, with McMillan and Quas being over there right now. And if they McMillan him, I'll be so mad. If McMillan if Hernandez gets out there and he starts throwing over 100 miles an hour and pinpointing into the top corner, I'm going to be so pissed. But it is what it is. The Royals couldn't figure it out with him. The new staff couldn't figure it out. I don't know that any other staff can figure it out. If they can't, and if they do, good for them. We got good relievers here.
On the bright side, I mean, we do have good relievers, right? The bullpen's set, so I don't think we'll be hurting too much. Prado and Velasquez, like we said, they got DFA'd. They cleared waivers. I think Prado, that's to be expected. Like, he kind of is what he is. Velasquez, I think there was a chance somebody might have taken him, but they didn't. So both of those guys get to go to Omaha. No longer on the 40-man roster. So for them to come back up, it would take a move, but I don't really think that's going to be in the cards for any of those guys.
Yeah, I think those guys aren't good. They'll probably not be up most of this year, I don't think, unless, again, first base becomes a real issue, but I don't see it. And the pitching, again, just to reiterate with Carlos leaving, the pitching's so deep for the Royals that I think that if he got sent down, he wasn't coming back up. And, the Phillies are like, the Royals were reportedly interested in Bohm earlier in the year, and I think they probably offered Harvey. And the first thing that comes to my mind is like the the Phillies got offered Harvey, knowing the Royals were going to get rid of Hernandez. They were like, "We have Hunter Harvey at home." You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, right.
"Can we have Hunter Harvey?" And they're like, "We have Hunter Harvey at home." And it's Carlos Hernandez. But because the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about him being in the Phillies jersey. But uh, yeah, all those guys that they didn't make it. I think some people were rooting for Prado, and I know Ann Rodgers had him predicted to be with the Royals. I didn't really ever see Prado making the opening day roster. A first baseman who's forced to the outfield and still can't hit. So
Yeah. Oh, but he's a Gold Glove first baseman. Okay.
yeah, because I love my defense first baseman. Those are my guys for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I wish him the best. He was the Eric Hosmer heir apparent at one point. Didn't pan out. Kind of had that resurgence in 2021, but I think
I love the
like
kid.
like
I do want him to succeed.
yeah,
But
obviously, right. I think like if the worst of the worst case happens this year, you would still see. I think you would still see Jack Caglione before Nick Prado. To be
yeah,
honest. So,
I just think Vinny passed him. Right, like it was
yeah.
Nick Prado,
Mhm.
Nick Prado, Nick Prado, and then Vinny was. Everybody was like, "That guy. We want that guy. He's
Yeah.
somebody else." So
Everything Prado did, Vinny could do, and he could do better. So
yeah,
it's just it's a bummer. But
right.
speaking of Vinny Pasquantino, he had a hamstring injury, missed a spring game or two. But it sounds like that's a grade one, not really cause for concern. He'll be in opening day lineup. I don't think there's really any question.
Yeah, I think the concern with hamstring injuries isn't really whether he's okay right now, but whether he'll aggravate it again. Hamstrings are really touchy. In my experience watching sports, it's always something that like you got to make sure it's 100% because it doesn't really go away. Like it's like you got to feel perfectly fine because you can tweak it really easily. So I think he'll be good for now. They said that they're getting him back in the field. He felt good in batting practice the other day. So um, sounds all good for now. Hopefully we don't see any tweak during the season or any issue with his swing. But again, grade one is as low as it gets. So it can't be as good a news as you can get.
Yep, it'd be nice to have a good, healthy year from Vinny. Haven't really had that,
Uh,
so if he can just put it together, we talked a couple episodes ago. Like, I think I had him as like a 40 home run potential guy, 30
yeah.
for sure. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, we need him healthy for sure.
Yeah.
But with that, the opening day roster set, like we said, 2 days away from Cleveland. Tanner Bibby, I think, is their starter, right?
Yeah. Didn't they just extend him too?
Yeah, I think so. He's a pretty good young guy, but I just don't. It's the same Guardians that it's been forever. Like their guys are gone, right? All their rotation is, and then they just have somebody else. So
Yeah.
they'll be
I,
fine.
I saw them post their something like Guardians extend their ace for opening day. I was like, Tanner Bibby's an ace. The Royals have three aces. Get Michael Waka in the conversation. We got a
Yeah,
third one.
right.
Like I'm cool. That's
Yeah, that phrase is thrown. Like if he's your number one starter, he's an ace. Like,
yeah, I
it's
know.
just come on.
I know. The Royals were throwing Zach Greinke out there, and there was never a day in my life that I was calling 41-year-old Zach Greinke our ace pitcher. That was never coming out of my mouth.
Yeah,
It's like
but
young core in the NBA where like you get like three guys that are under the age of 20 and they can all be second round picks averaging like 5 points a game. And they're like, the Warriors young core is insane. It's like, shut up. Stop.
yeah. So well, we'll see how the opening day series goes. That does it for the news and notes. Just waiting for the season to start. Like I said earlier, we did have a chance this week to speak with Royals prospect AJ Causey, 2024 draftee out of Tennessee, with Drew Beam, both guys out of Tennessee. Didn't pitch last year. Struck out 125 batters in like 91 innings in his last season with the Volunteers. So really, really good strikeout stuff. Has a weird, sidearm angle. So we got a chance to talk with him, and we're happy to bring that interview.
Yeah, super cool.
All right, welcome. We're very excited today. We've got Royals prospect AJ Causey with us, 2024 draftee. Really just thankful, AJ, that you made the time to speak with us. Happy to get to know you. I know you didn't pitch last year professionally, so maybe you're a new guy for Royals fans. So we're happy to get to know you and let the fans get to know you as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so obviously, for any Royals fans don't know, you were drafted last year, fifth round pick by the Royals. Actually, the second Volunteers pitcher picked by the Royals. Talk about that experience a little bit. I know you and Drew Beam, you guys went to college together. Has that, do you think that familiar face, has that helped in any ways? You've moved to the pros. What has that been like?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, kind of just makes you more comfortable knowing. I mean, I've known Drew for a while, so like we stayed together when we first got out here too. So we were like roommates, and we got really close. It was yeah, it just made it more comfortable, made it easier knowing like he was out here. We're just kind of doing it together. Yeah, really
Yeah.
cool that happened.
Yeah, I expect so. I mean, obviously, dominant stuff at Tennessee. Struck out 125 batters in just over 90 innings. Um, for any Royals fans that don't know, who is AJ Causey, the pitcher? Not all the fans watch college. Not all of them are familiar with who you are. What makes you work on the mound? What makes you so successful with those strikeouts?
Yeah, so I guess first things first, I'm a side armor. Yeah, I make the ball move. I sink it. I sweep it. I'm pretty much just yeah, that side armor kind of like Steve Cishek, Darren O'Day, guys like that. Kind of just that side armor go in. Yeah, just make the ball move. I guess.
I love that. That's one of my favorite things about watching you when you were in college at Tennessee. I love the sidearm approach. I know some Royals fans might have some experience with guys like John Schreiber currently on the roster and other
Mhm.
guys, but that sidearm approach is so valuable in the bullpen. And when you watched you at Tennessee, that like you said, the ability to move the ball was so impressive for you with the 40 inches of separation, horizontal break between that sinker fastball and the big breaking ball. There's only two players in professional baseball who have that much movement on their pitches like that. So it's really impressive stuff from you. Like how do you get those two to play off each other so well when you're on the mound?
Kind of just like I guess location. Throwing it my sinker where it needs to be, and then playing a sweeper off of that. Has the changeup too. So like playing that one with the lefties or the righties. Yeah, it's kind of just look like where I throw it. Like you know, slider doesn't work up and in, but sinker works. Like yeah, so it's like basically where I throw it.
Yeah, you do such a good job of like attacking the bottom of the zone, especially with the ability to move that ball, get the drop on it. So I was really impressed with that watching Tennessee college baseball. I got a chance to watch a good bit of Tennessee baseball to keep an eye on you, Andrew. Uh, but
Mhm.
both of you were really impressive last year, and it's been about 6 months since the draft. So I assume you spent some time with like coaches, instructors, whatever, with the organization. What's been like the focus for you as you get closer to the start of the season?
Yeah, kind of just I guess honing my craft. Whether it's adding a pitch, working on command, sequencing. A lot of stuff. Just they've helped me a lot. Like just fine tuning, becoming like a professional ball player. Yeah, it's been awesome. Love the guys here. Coaches are great.
Glad to hear it.
I know college has come along as well, but are there any, just to follow up to that, are there any like metrics or is there anything maybe that the Royals have shown you just in your short time that you didn't really have access to at Tennessee that you think has helped?
Not really, because Tennessee's kind of a powerhouse. So like we had access to all the technology. Frank didn't wasn't like he wouldn't shove it down your throat. He kind of let you use it as you wanted to. But when I was working on like a new pitch, like I had all the data. So like I knew all the data on my other pitches, and it's like I mean it's the same thing as TrackMan. And we have the same thing here. So like we're using that, working on pitches and stuff. So honestly, it's all the same stuff. They kind of look at the same things, vertical, horizontal, like stuff like that. It's like the two main things we focus on.
Gotcha. Okay. Obviously, it's your first spring training, first time in Arizona as a professional. I think you were added to the spring breakout roster, just didn't get a chance to pitch in that game. But
Mhm.
I'm sure you've been spending time on the backfields, playing in those games with other Royals prospects. What's the priority been for you this spring, as far as getting ready for the season? And do you have any goals in mind for the 2025 season that you're targeting?
Yeah, I mean, just really fine tuning the craft. We added a pitch, fine tuning that location, sequencing, kind of reading headers, all that stuff that goes into, I guess, being professional. You might not do in college because the coach might be calling your pitches or whatever. So that's been a big thing is just kind of just becoming a professional, fine tuning the craft. And yeah, as far as goals go, I mean, we have a big thing. It's like be where our feet are. To like focus where you are, work as hard as you can. Like everything else will take care of itself. obviously I have my goals, but yeah.
Yeah, that
Okay.
the ability to, be aware of the hitter and what they're looking for. It's such a big mental game as you become a professional, with pitching and stuff like that. So that's definitely something that's a different step, like you said, with the coach calling the pitches, and then you or the catcher kind of working things out and building that relationship. So that's great to hear. Back when you were younger and kind of starting with baseball, you're from Alabama, right?
Yes, sir.
And so, yeah, Javier Vaz, another Royals prospect,
Yeah.
is from around that area. Yeah, as well as closer Craig Kimbrell. So,
Mhm.
as a kid, were there any players that you like really looked up to, or whether they were local or from other areas, or any players that had impact on the way that you played?
Yeah, for sure. One big guy, Kyle Wright from Huntsville. So look, watched
Yeah.
him with the
Also a
Braves.
Royal. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, watched him with the Braves a lot. Him, um, yeah, watched him when I started throwing sidearm. Like Darren O'Day, loved watching him. Steve Cishek, even got to work with him. That yeah, guys like that really like. Especially when I started throwing sidearm, was basically just sidearm guys. Was like the guys I was watching.
what? And this is kind of off topic, but what made you switch to the sidearm? Like when you were and like what made you switch to that approach?
So I played a lot of wiffle ball with my brothers, and my coach at the time knew that. So he was like, "I want you to try this because like I think you could be really good at it, just like kind of how you are." So I tried it, and I like worked a lot at it. Like I would just go in, just throw to the nine square, trying to figure out how to even hit the thing when I was
Yeah.
first trying to do it. But yeah, I fell in love with it, and honestly, it was just that suggestion, like, "Hey, I think you should try this." I was like, "Okay, why not?"
Yeah, it's tough to transition from the like over the top
Mhm.
approach to that sidearm. It definitely takes some work, and you make it look so easy that I think people would watch you or other sidearm guys and think that that's just something you kind of like start throwing that way. But um, it definitely is tough. So it's impressive to see the way that you're able to move that ball. And I didn't know Kyle Wright was from that area. That's actually really cool.
Mhm.
He also has that big breaking stuff from
Yeah,
around there. So very cool.
yeah.
Well, hey, I appreciate AJ. Obviously, you're just getting going in your pro career. I'm excited to see where you end up this year, whether that's,
Mhm.
high A Quad Cities. You're a college guy, so maybe we'll see you at double A this year even. But
Yeah.
um, like I said, thanks for hopping on with us. It's great to get your insight, kind of, see that transition from college to the pros. And
Mhm.
we're excited to see what you do this year. Follow along, and we wish you the best of luck.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
thanks for joining
course.
us. Appreciate it.
See ya.
All right, there you have it, AJ Causey. Thankful that we got to have him on. Great guy to talk to. Excited to see what he does this year in the minor leagues. He'll make his debut probably with high A Quad Cities, I think. We'll talk a bit about the affiliates here in a minute. But I don't know if he'll start. I don't know if he'll be a reliever. I think long term, probably a reliever, but it wouldn't surprise me if he starts the year on the rotation. I think.
I almost always think the side armor like approach is better out of the bullpen because I
Yeah.
think especially with like when you have a starter that goes out there for 5, 6, 4, whatever innings, however long you want, it's nice to put that side armor in after the pitchers or the hitters have gotten 3 looks at a guy throwing over the top. It's like they figured out this arm slot, they're ready for it, and then you have a guy like AJ Causey who's knows how to spin that ball and move it across the zone. He's throwing from the weirdest arm angle. That makes I think that makes life tough on hitters in general. So
Right.
I think he should start in the bullpen. I just don't think that he'll ever be a starter. Not that he can't do it, but just because I think that's where he'll be most effective. And so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely wonky. He didn't make the roster either, but take a guy like Eric Santola with his, higher arm slot and then have
yeah,
Causey follow him. It's just so hard
right.
for guys to
That's
pick
got to
up.
get annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, we're grateful we got to talk with him. Let's talk a little bit more about the minor leagues. We did our top 30. We did that earlier in this off season, so we won't really go in depth there, but more so just where can you expect to see guys this year, right? We put out our roster previews over at Farm to Fountains. We should get the Omaha roster this week. I think that's usually pretty close to opening day, if not, right there with it. And then probably a week after that, we'll find out who's going to be at Northwest Arkansas, who's going to be at Quad Cities. We're still 2 weeks out from their opening day, which it's always the lamest thing. Like
Yeah,
you start the season and then, oh yeah, these guys don't play for 2 more weeks.
right.
Yeah, so let's start with Omaha. They start the year, first. Who are some guys you're excited to see in Omaha this year?
I love Avila. I want to see that guy get some stats on the board that like really catch your eye because I feel like Avila's always been a guy that shows like his stuff is just insane. I mean the fastball and then 3,000 RPM curve. I put out earlier, I think this week, the trying to compare the Royals top 10 prospects to players currently in the MLB. It is tough to find somebody that's like Avila, somebody that like really can lean on that curveball, fastball, 3,000 RPM and is touching 100 miles an hour. There just aren't many guys like that that exist in Major League Baseball right now. And if he can command that stuff, I mean, he's fun. He's just fun to watch. And so I look forward to seeing him in Omaha. I think again, not similar to Causey, not similar players, but like I think that he belongs in the bullpen. I think that's where he'll be best. Uh, that fastball curveball combo is just insane. And he has a slider in there as well. That's solid. But again, you don't find guys that can both throw that hard with that much spin in the major league. So I really look forward to seeing him, seeing what he can offer. That's my number one like favorite guy. You guys know I love Sarantola as well. The two of them I think should be towards the back end of the bullpen. Sisk as well. You got three really good relievers down there in Omaha. So I look forward to seeing how they do and see if they'll compete for a roster spot maybe next season or at mid-season this year if they really are catching your eye,
Yeah. Yeah, Avila skyrocketed. He was hurt part of last year, made like one start at Omaha to finish the year when he came back, and then he went to the fall league because of that injury, just to get more innings. But he's like mid 2023. I think my comp for him was Wade Davis,
Right.
which like Royals fans are like, what? You
Yeah.
can't just call somebody Wade Davis. But no, I don't think he's going to have like the greatest
No.
reliever stretch in history or anything. But
Yeah.
it's just that profile, right? He's got the stuff to pitch in the back of a bullpen. So yeah, I agree. He'll start in Omaha, but long term, I think he's going to be best in the back of the bullpen for sure.
Yeah, he took that like meteoric jump, especially with velocity wise. You've said like Angel Zerpa did that one season where it was like you're looking at 93, 94, like low mid 90s. And then out of nowhere, just like 100, 99. And it was like, where, how? And
Yeah.
with Avila, that really became like the thing. It was kind of like, he's throwing 90 miles an hour, 90, 92, 93 miles an hour, especially at the end of starts, kind of lost something towards the end, but it was more of like a cutter. And now he's just powering it past people, and it's 100 miles an hour. It's fairly straight now. I don't think it's as much of a cutter as it used to be. He still has that, but you don't find guys with a four-seamer curve combo the way that he has one. So just an exciting player, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he'll be a name to watch in Omaha for sure. Noah Cameron will be back there pitching in the rotation. And then Kevin Cross, I think we'll see him go to Omaha to start the year, I expect.
Yeah.
Spent all the last season with the Naturals. I would just caution people with Gavin Cross. If he goes to Omaha and like starts to rake, he's hitting like 280, just belting home runs. I would just caution people like slow down because the Royals they're going to take their time. He struggled immensely that one year. Even last year, he was so up and down. He had the back injuries. And Omaha, like John Ray hit 20 home runs at Omaha last year. He wouldn't have hit 20 home runs in Kauffman Stadium, right? It's just so hitter friendly. So I would just caution people. If you see Gavin Cross really take off, take note of it, but I would just slow down, I think.
Yeah, he's fun. And he's a good player. He has tons of potential for power, but again, people were calling for John Rave to get up. Several other guys last season, just like CJ Alexander was a great example of that. Like a guy who was just belting last year, like hitting tons of home runs. He went to the major leagues, he couldn't do anything. Like he was all right, but he was ended up being included in the trade because they didn't have anything for him that they could work out. Now Cross obviously a better prospect than Alexander was, but it's you got to let the guys develop, prove they can do it consistently. I'm on a trip with a bunch of kids in the Maryland pep band, so they're not like huge into sports. And so I was explaining to them like why baseball has so many games. It's all about consistency. You can have a hot month, but that doesn't mean you're going to have a hot year. So if Gavin Cross gets off to a hot start in April, and it carries into May. It doesn't mean it's going to carry into June and July. It's all about being consistent at the plate and repeating your approach, doing those things over and over again. So it's especially true with pitchers, like like we mentioned with Avila. If you're gonna, you can throw 100 miles an hour up and in and a curveball down the dirt, but if you throw one fastball down the middle to the right hitter, it's going over the fence every time. So, Gavin Cross, you can have one at bat or a month where you're having good at bats, but once you start striking out a bunch, you start striking out a bunch more. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting. I think him finding success and reaching the big leagues would be huge.
Yeah,
that's what they need, right? They need that outfield help.
I don't know if it'll happen this year, but
no, like I said, I think they'll take their time. I mean, his bat speed was solid in spring. He was like 74, 75 at times. So
yeah,
like you can see the power there, but like the hit tool, like it's probably like a 35 or 40. Like there's a lot of questions. So I think
it's just got to be consistent. It's just got to be consistent. Once you see that he can do it consistently, then he's up in the majors. I think he might compete for a spot to start next year. Again, if he rakes throughout a good portion of the year, you might see him this season at some point, but I wouldn't count on it.
Yep. Into Arkansas, that AA squad, that's going to be where I think the bulk of the prospects are this year. At least to start the year. They'll move up later on. So you got Carter Jensen, Steven Zobak will be there. Ben Kudna probably heads back there as well. Frank Mozzicato, who we'll cover a little bit later in spring breakout, just real quickly. And then Spencer Nivens. Those are all guys I think we'll see in Northwest Arkansas. Obviously, can you even see this?
Yeah.
Jack Caglione.
Yeah.
He'll be in Arkansas. We already find out he'll be in AA. So I don't know how long he's gonna mash, I think. So but this should be
he's not going to be there too long. I don't think he's going to be there too long. It took me seeing him hit one big leaguer like 450, and I was like, all right, he's legit. Yeah, like it's hard. It's hard, and I like we said with Gavin Cross, you don't want to come to see him rake a couple of homers and be like, just get him into the big leagues. You can't do that. But it's hard for even somebody like me. Like I know that, but man, sometimes I just I want to see him. Like just please,
yeah.
I want to see. I want to see it.
We both know that, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about Gavin Cross, who his zone contact rate is like mid 70s, 75%.
Yeah.
Caglione is so massive that he's making like 85%, 90% zone contact. It's just insane. He can chase ridiculous. All he wants because he's gonna fucking hit it.
Yeah, the dude is ridiculous. It's so crazy. And if you're not somebody who watches minor league prospects or even didn't watch spring this year, the hype is it's not made up. Like people are not just taking this to the moon. The kid's legitimately it's absurd. I haven't seen a guy in my time following Royals baseball. I've never seen a guy that has the potential to hit. Maybe Jorge Soler had close to this much power, but it's not. He's nuts. He's nuts. I want to see him in Kansas City, but take your time, let him be the best that he can be. But it was a fun spring to see. Whenever I got a chance to see that kid get at bats, my mom and I would, I'd be in the kitchen or something. I'd be like, Jack's coming up. We should turn to the TV and boom. It's every time he swings
through,
for that.
Every time.
Yeah. Every time he touches the ball, you're like, that's gone. It could be the worst pop-up of all time, but the way he swings and the sound of the contact, he is such a gorgeous swing. But it's every time he's up to bat, it's like you feel like it's going over it. But enough about Caglione. There's plenty of other good guys that are going to be in Northwest Arkansas. It's Zobek's one of our favorites. Tons of command, good stuff. I think similar to Noah Cameron, who's going to be at Omaha to start the year. I'd like to see him add another fastball offering, cutter, sinker, something like that. Right now he has 3 really solid pitches with the changeup and the slider. And again, probably the best command in the system. But I'd like to see him add a little bit more just to the pitch repertoire. And yeah, I think a similar thing with cutter now. 3 pitches. Would like to see him add another one.
Yeah, him especially, he needs it more just because the fastball he does have is not that great.
Yeah, so much fastball is definitely better. I think also Northwest Arkansas. Somebody didn't mention who's one of my favorite guys. He might start in Northwest Arkansas, probably more likely to start in Quad Cities because I think the pitching is a little bit loaded right now in Northwest Arkansas. But Drew Beam might be a guy to mention at one of those two. Similar to Zobek, tons of command. Relatively polished stuff with his top 3 pitches with the gyro cutter / slider, a good firm fastball, great changeup, and a curve that he mixes in as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Beam. I think in my prediction for Quad Cities, I had him on there. I think he could go to AA, but like you said, there's just so much there already that
Double A's loaded right now for the Royals. It's for sure. I think and again, don't rush it. You don't gotta shove him up. The Royals starting rotation is so good right now. There's no need to. Beam's going to be a starter, and I think he's going to be a solid one. I think he's going to be a fast mover in the Royals system, but I don't think there's any need to force him with how good the Royals starters are now and in the future. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of Quad Cities, we can move our way there. I had him starting the year in Quad Cities. Probably a guy that I would expect to move up, midway through the year. Maybe Noah Cameron comes up, then we see some shuffle upward. But I mean, other guys in Quad Cities, I think we'll see Carson Roccaforte go back there to start the year. He was another one I was kind of on the fence, but he had that strong end of the season. I think you want to see him do it over the whole year.
Yep.
And then Blake Mitchell, he'll start the year on the IL. He'll be there in Quad Cities as well. Probably miss a week or two. And then Daniel Vasquez, I think, is the other guy that stands out. Quad Cities, I don't think it's really going to be as stacked as we saw last year. Those guys have kind of moved up.
Yeah, it's like Northwest Arkansas is now where it's all at. And Quad Cities fun. I mean, they got some. Blake Mitchell's a great guy. Roccaforte will be there for a little bit. I think once he shows that he can consistently get there with the at bat, I mean, in his interview, whatever he can do to help the team, that is really something that he pushed a lot. Once he shows that he can help the team, I think they'll start to move him up. And I think Northwest Arkansas, I think it's a good spot for him and the other of the top prospects just to get success. I feel like that's a team that's going to be one of the better minor league teams, especially in AA. That's going to be a really good roster.
Yeah, it should be.
So get some wins, good for your confidence.
You got Columbia and Quad Cities, those A-ball levels where you're learning and you're applying. Once you get to Northwest Arkansas, you're okay.
It feels like pro
learned,
ball.
apply it, right? And that's why that struggle happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that feels like pro ball. That feels like, you're at Quad Cities and that still feels like high school, not actual high school baseball, but it feels like the really good high schoolers and the new college kids are like high A, low A. When you get to AA, AAA, that's where, these are professional guys with legit major league, could do it at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Beyond Quad Cities, Columbia will have some guys as well. Ramon Ramirez. I think we'll see Asfel Gonzalez there. I'm kind of up in the air. I think Jackson had him on the Northwest Arkansas preview. I just think he only went there because of the playoffs last year. I don't
get him some experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Quad Cities is more possible for him, but I don't think that, again, there's no point in rushing it. I can reiterate that 1,000 times with every prospect. There's no point in shoving him through the farm system. With Roccaforte's above him. Roccaforte's a slightly better fielder, less potential at the plate, but probably similar level at the plate right now.
Right. Yeah, Gonzalez, he's 19, so I think we'll see him in Columbia. Ramon Ramirez, it would be for his first try at low A as well. And then some returning guys, Hero Wyatt, Blake Walters, I think we'll see them back there to start the year. I don't know about David Shields. With Hero Wyatt, with Ben Kudrna, Frank Moscow.
Probably complex league.
Yeah, they had them start in complex, and then they moved them up. But with Blake Walters, they said, no, you're starting the year in low A. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with David Shields.
Yeah, they ended up taking Walters out and kind of doing something with get some technique down, things like that, because that's a fun arm. He and Wyatt have really fun stuff to watch. And even to go back to Gonzalez, I think he's more likely to finish the year in Northwest Arkansas and start there. It makes sense to me if he gets promoted. But I look forward to seeing Walters and Wyatt get back at pro ball, especially Walters after taking a bit of some time off. The kid has ridiculous stuff. I mean, he was touching.
I mean, he debuted he was saying 98 to start the year. He kind of tapered off, he hasn't built up that strength, right? So he was throwing 93, 94 after a month or two. And then he had some discomfort. So they just said, all right, we're just going to take it.
Yeah.
Send him to Arizona. So
you can't ruin that. You got a high school kid throwing 100. It's like carrying a glass egg. You don't want to drop that thing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Speaking of high school kids, Frank Mazzucato was once a high school kid. He's gotten like dragged by like
Oh yeah,
those fans for years, right? So last thing I want to cover, and we'll get to hats off and wrap it up. This guy was in the spring breakout. Like a week before the spring breakout, I was hearing, "Oh, Frank Mazzucato, he threw 95 yesterday." Like,
what?
no. So all right, let's see it. He went to the spring breakout. This dude, I kid you not, if he maintains 94, he has the best fastball in the whole farm system.
Oh yeah,
No question. And there's like, I don't even want to exaggerate. There's like a notable gap between Mazzucato at 94 and Zobak, who I think has the best fastball in the system. So this is huge. I want to see him do it in the year. I want to see him do it throughout the year. Somebody was talking about it. I don't remember who. I listen to too many podcasts because I drive way too much for work. Somebody was talking about it, and they said, "Well, we heard that about Mazzucato last year." We never heard that about Mazzucato.
No,
never.
I never heard that.
No, last offseason, they were using like this weighted. I don't even remember what it's called. They were just working on the mechanics, all right, the timing, nothing about the velo. This is the first time we've seen him throwing 94, and if he can maintain that at all into the season, he's back on the mat.
100%. Yeah, that's a huge deal for him. And the curveball was 3,000 RPM at spring breakout. That's nuts. Both of those pitches, that is absurd stuff from him. The shape is great on the fastball. It was always just a matter of getting the velocity up because it wasn't going to work if it was a straight line fastball pitching at 90, but it's completely different. And I think you mentioned last year at some point that at some point with Mazzucato, with how he was pitching last year, you almost feel bad for him. And you just got to shut it down and build the fastball from the bottom up, just like reset the entire thing. New grip, new everything. It feels like that's what they did. It's a completely new pitch. It's not anything like what he was offering last year.
Yeah, completely different. He didn't throw the changeup at all, but I mean, to be honest, like he's dropped way more than Ben Kudrna on people's list.
Yeah,
but he's done everything that Ben Kudrna hasn't done.
Right.
So not to knock Ben Kudrna, I think he's a great prospect, but I mean, you got Mazzucato now who's got 4 pitches. He's got the curve, the slider, the change. Now he's got a better fastball. So I'm gonna wait and see if it transitions into the season at all. But if we get to like end of May and he's still throwing 94, 95, he's like top 10 prospect in the system.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I mean, that'll do it. Excited to get opening day going. These minor league guys won't be too much further beyond that. So if you live near Arkansas, Omaha, maybe you're out on the coast, I would definitely get out and see these guys. It's fun to go out to the minor league parks. It's so much different than a big league park. It's so much, you're like on the field. It's a different experience. It's more fun. So if you're close, then I would definitely recommend it.
It's really cool. The minor league games are fun. It's a different environment than Major League Baseball, and especially if you're near Northwest Arkansas Stadium, you got some fun guys. And I was double checking really quick. This is kind of just something funny, and I'm not 100% sure. But the other day we posted about Frank Mazzucato. We said something about his fastball ticking up, and I reposted the thing you wrote about him. I think Frank Mazzucato's mom followed me on Twitter. I got it right here. I found it, and it's Suzanne Mazzucato.
All right. Well, if Suzanne's listening, thanks
followed
for
me
on
Twitter. So if you're listening, your son's killing it, taking a great step forward. So I was just kind of hanging out, and I had just posted that, and it was break for me. So I was with my mom, and we were going to the grocery store, and I went, I only know the last name. And I tried to Google it, and there's nothing about his family out there because the kid's 20 years old, and there's no point in posting about his family. But I see 2 boys in the profile picture, and I know Frank has a brother who's a prospect as well. So I was like, that's super cool. So Miss Mazzucato, if you're listening, your son's incredible. But I just found that. I had to go through and double check. But quick funny little thing that happened to me earlier this week.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's always it could be another Mozzicato, but I haven't ever heard of another
I've never
Mozzicato.
heard, I don't know anybody with the last name Mozzicato, especially that like reposts Frank Mozzicato things on their Twitter feed. But
That'll
I
usually
can't
be the
say
tell.
a hundred percent.
Like somebody will follow you, like, oh, that name's familiar, and then you go on the page and they just retweet everything because it's family. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't say 100%. Like I can't say for certain, but like I can say with relative confidence that that's at least a family member. Like,
Right. Well, I mean, that'll do it. Let's wrap it up with some hats off. What do you got, Matt?
oh yeah. So I have a prop for my hats off. Go Terps. Anybody that was watching March Madness, biggest piece of madness that's happened all week. Derek Queen, the 20-year-old freshman, is the savior for the state of Maryland. The probably the best thing that has happened to the state of Maryland in a very long time.
What a shot, man!
Unbelievable. Obviously I'm around it. I actually got to talk to him the other day, which is one of the most surreal things in my life. And I was in the elevator with Kevin Willard earlier today, not to brag to anybody, but a lot of cool stuff happening with Maryland basketball. But that was a tough shot. 20-year-old kid. He's never hit a game winner before. That was his first one. Said it in his interview. Kevin Willard goes, "Well, I wouldn't have given him the ball then." But he's got a great mentality, and I can also tell you from being around him, he is the nicest kid athlete I've worked with, been around. He is the sweetest dude. Talks to everybody, treats you like a friend. Everybody in the facility. As he was walking out, told us we had the best band in the country. He recognizes everybody that's around him, and he's a heck of a basketball player. So that shot was incredible. He told Willard he wanted the ball. He got the ball, pushed Maryland's season on after 4 straight buzzer beater losses for the University of Maryland. They needed that one. And Maryland fans are thankful. Basketball fans should be thankful. Heck of a shot, and that's a great play. So, Derek Queen, we love you. If you hear that, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out because that kid's unbelievable.
On to the Sweet 16, right?
Oh,
it's
that's where we're at. We got Florida.
Ryan Ramsey went to Maryland, and then obviously Jack Caglione went to Florida. So
yeah, the guy I wanted, Matt Shaw, just made the Cubs roster. He's fun, and actually my conversation with Derek Queen was about Maryland baseball with the two oh my gosh, the brothers. I can't believe I'm so bad with names sometimes, but the Hakopian brothers on the Maryland roster, both of those kids those kids can rake. So we were talking about them. They were playing Washington earlier this week. So a couple of the basketball players and some kids from the band and whatever, we all went to go watch the game with them against Washington that they managed to get blown out like 12-4. But so we did not go to the next game.
I'm just surprised they got a game in. It's always raining out here.
Yeah, it is. It was raining the entire time I was there. The second I got there, Preston goes, "Welcome to the gray." He was not lying. But weather in San Francisco is a little bit better.
A little warmer down there.
We're having a good time, and Derek Queen get us through Florida because we're all having a good time. We don't want to go home. So that shot sent me to California, and I'll be forever grateful.
Keep it rolling. Well, for my hats off, I'm going to keep it baseball this week. Hats off to Nick Lofton. This dude didn't make the roster, but he did everything you want him to do, right?
He earned a spot.
Exactly.
He earned a spot. I mean, he deserved a spot, to be honest.
Yeah. So I don't think the teams misused him by any means. He was pretty bad at times in the big leagues, but he's a guy he was drafted in that weird 2020 COVID year. It would be cool to see him get a chance at some point at third base or somewhere. I just don't think it's going to happen in Kansas City. So maybe he gets traded this year. I don't know. But hats off to him on a solid spring. I really wanted him to make the roster, but
he had a better spring than I thought he did until you told me about it last week, and I kind of started to keep an eye on him. But he, really impressive. He earned a roster spot. Didn't get one, but he'll have one at some point this year. I can all but guarantee that we'll see him in a Royals jersey at some point this season.
Well, that'll do it for the Fountain Cast. This time next week, we'll be talking about real baseball. Opening day will be behind us. Hopefully a series win over the Guardians.
Absolutely a series win.
And we'll go from there. So thanks for hopping on. Give us a follow. Give us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Drop a rating in there if you want. talk about Matt's big hat. It's funny. But yeah, until next time, thanks for listening. This is Fountain Cast.